the Mustang choked and died in the middle of nowhere. He cursed under his breath. This car was supposed to be untouchable. From across the street, a girl in grease-stained clothes stepped forward. "You're not gonna fix that with attitude," she said, eyes sharp. He laughed until she opened the hood and changed everything. The engine sputtered and died just as the millionaire pulled into the dusty lot of a small-town gas station. His prized Mustang, a sleek machine worth more than some houses, had never failed him until today. Frustrated and late for a business meeting, he stepped out, cursing under his breath. That's when he saw her. A young girl, no older than 12, stood nearby with smudges of grease on her face and worn clothes that told a story of struggle. She watched him curiously, then walked over with quiet confidence. "I can fix it," she said, her voice steady. He scoffed at first. But with no mechanic in sight and his options limited, he relented. To his surprise, she popped the hood, examined the engine, and got to work with makeshift tools pulled from her battered backpack. In just minutes, the Mustang roared back to life. "Where did you learn that?" he asked, stunned. "My dad taught me before he passed," she replied softly. "We used to fix cars together." Something shifted in him then. Not just awe for her talent, but a deeper ache he hadn't felt in years. He saw in her the same spark his late daughter once had, the same grit and resilience. As they talked more, he learned of her difficult life, living in foster care, bouncing from home to home, yet holding on to dreams of becoming an engineer. He couldn't drive away. Not this time. Instead, he offered her a scholarship, mentorship, and something she hadn't had in years: stability. In trying to fix a car, she'd unknowingly mended a broken piece of his heart. Sometimes, the smallest hands can perform the biggest repairs on engines and souls alike. The Mustang rolled to a stop with a hiss and a groan, its once proud engine now silent on the side of a forgotten road in a sleepy town. The millionaire behind the wheel slammed the door in frustration. He was used to efficiency, to perfection. His world was all about control. But today, even his prized possession had betrayed him. He was dialing for roadside assistance when a voice broke through the stillness. "Need help?" It belonged to a teenage girl, no more than 13, with oil-stained hands and an oversized hoodie. She eyed the car like a puzzle waiting to be solved. "You know anything about engines?" he asked skeptically. She gave a half shrug, half smile. "Enough to know yours is overheating because of a stuck thermostat." Without waiting for approval, she dove under the hood with the precision of someone far beyond her years. In less than 20 minutes, the Mustang was humming again. Impressed, he asked where she'd learned to do that. "I read manuals. Watch videos. Practice on junk cars behind the scrapyard," she said. "I want to build engines for NASA one day." There was no pride in her voice, just quiet certainty. Her words stuck with him. Here was brilliance hidden behind rusted-out trailers and second-hand clothes. Not just talent, but genius, raw and unnoticed. The millionaire didn't just hand her cash. He made calls. Arranged mentors. Pulled her out of the shadows and into the spotlight she deserved. Within a year, she was enrolled in a prestigious engineering program. That broken Mustang? It led him to something far more valuable than a fixed car. It introduced him to a mind the world nearly missed. Because sometimes, brilliance doesn't shine, it hides under a layer of grease, waiting to be discovered. The sun beat down on a rural highway as a vintage Mustang sputtered to a stop, steam curling from its hood. Its owner, a wealthy CEO known for his cold demeanor and bigger-than-life empire, kicked the gravel in frustration. He was en route to a business retreat, but the car, his late father's most prized possession, had other plans. From across the road, a young girl no older than 14 appeared, pushing a rusty bike and wearing a backpack patched with duct tape. "That's a '68 Shelby, right?" she asked, eyes lighting up. "I can fix it." He raised an eyebrow. "You?" She nodded. "I mess with engines after school. Got a gift, I guess." Out of options, he watched her work. With astonishing precision, she diagnosed the issue: a corroded wire deep in the engine, and had it running in 20 minutes. But then something caught her eye. "This plate," she said, tapping a small metal tag behind the air filter. This isn't factory. It's engraved. She read it aloud. For the one who finds their way back. The CEO froze. That inscription wasn't there before. Or was it? Memory stirred, his father disappearing for long stretches, the car always returning with strange upgrades, whispers of projects he never explained. Intrigued, he dug deeper, tracing the plate's code. It led to a storage unit filled with journals, blueprints, and letters, his father's hidden legacy as a secret inventor, working to build technology for people in need. The girl, it turned out, wasn't just a mechanic, she was his niece. The daughter of a half-sister he never knew he had. That simple repair didn't just fix a car. It uncovered a family, a purpose, and a truth long buried beneath metal, oil, and silence. One repair changed everything. The Mustang broke down just outside a quiet, forgotten town. Smoke curled from the hood as the wealthy businessman inside muttered curses. It was his father's restored classic, a symbol of pride, power, and perfection. Now it sat useless on the roadside. As he stepped out, kicking the tire in frustration, a girl emerged from a nearby alley. Her clothes were torn and stained, her shoes worn thin. She couldn't have been older than 12. "Need help?" she asked, wiping her hands on a greasy rag. He scoffed. "What could you possibly know about this car?" Without flinching, she replied, "More than you think." He watched skeptically as she approached the hood, her fingers moving with practiced ease. In just 15 minutes, she had the engine purring. She explained the problem, a loose fuel line and a clogged filter, like she'd done it 100 times. "Where'd you learn all that?" he asked, genuinely curious now. She looked away. "My dad used to be a mechanic. He taught me everything before he disappeared." Moved by something he couldn't name, he offered her lunch, then a ride. As they talked, he discovered she was living in a shelter, fixing things for scraps and dreaming of one day building her own garage. But there was more. Beneath the tough exterior was a heart full of hope, and a mind bursting with potential. She spoke of machines like they were poetry. And slowly, the man who had built his life on walls and wealth felt those walls begin to crack. He didn't just fix his car that day, she rebuilt something in him: empathy, purpose, and connection. She wore rags, but carried riches no money could buy. And in saving his engine, she unknowingly saved his soul. The sleek, black Mustang came to a sputtering halt in the middle of nowhere. Its owner, a billionaire tech mogul known for his arrogance and isolation, climbed out with a scowl. No cell service. No passing cars. Just silence and the smell of burnt oil. Then, from behind the corner of a ramshackle garage, a girl emerged, barefoot, clothes worn thin, face streaked with dirt and determination. She looked no older than 13, but her eyes held something ancient. Wisdom. Resilience. "You're in trouble," she said simply, pointing at the steaming engine. He chuckled bitterly. "And you're the mechanic?" She nodded, walking over with a small tool roll in hand. "I work on engines when I'm not at school. Or, when I used to go to school." Despite himself, he watched. Her hands moved with precision, unfazed by the grime. She spoke softly, explaining each step as she replaced a faulty coil, tightened a line, and adjusted the timing. Within 20 minutes, the Mustang coughed back to life. "How did you?" "I read manuals," she said. "And I remember things. Always have." Curiosity piqued, he stayed to learn more. She'd been living behind the garage since her parents were deported, surviving by fixing lawnmowers and old trucks. No help, no school, no future, until now. He made a call. One repair turned into a scholarship. A new home. A mentorship. A future reborn. She was a miracle in disguise, hidden beneath grease, grit, and circumstances no child should face. And he realized that all his wealth and power had never brought him this kind of clarity. The car was just the beginning. What he found that day wasn't just a mechanic. It was a reminder: sometimes the most extraordinary souls are buried where the world forgets to look. The rich man's Mustang hissed and smoked in the heat of a small-town afternoon. He stepped out, irritated and overdressed, tapping away at his phone for a tow that wouldn't come. His schedule was packed, his patience thin, and his expectations high. Then came the voice. "You need help?" It belonged to a teenage girl, maybe 15, dressed in coveralls 2 sizes too big and hands stained with grease. She had a smudge on her cheek and an air of confidence that didn't match her surroundings. He sized her up. "You a mechanic?" She shrugged. "Sort of." With no better option, he stepped aside as she opened the hood. What happened next was unexpected. She didn't just tinker, she analyzed. Diagnosed. Recalibrated. Every move was efficient, methodical, almost surgical. In 15 minutes, she'd fixed a jammed injector and rerouted a loose wire with parts pulled from a scrap bin nearby. "How did you learn all this?" he asked, genuinely curious now. She looked up. "I reverse engineer engines for fun. I've built 3 from scratch using junkyard parts. One runs on biofuel." He blinked. That wasn't mechanic talk. That was engineer talk. Inventor talk. She wasn't just someone who turned wrenches, she was someone who saw beyond them. He dug deeper and discovered she'd been acing college-level math online, designing blueprints for hybrid engines, and dreaming of a future in aerospace. All from a garage she'd built herself, tucked behind her foster home. Moved by her brilliance, he connected her with a scholarship, internships, and mentors who could finally see what he had nearly missed. He thought she was just a mechanic. But when she opened the hood, she also opened the door to a future far greater than either of them had imagined. And it all started with a broken engine.